Hello, everybody. This is Derek, and I am back with another Wargaming and miniature video. I'm going to get those wires out of the way, get this out of the way. All right, so before we get jumping in on these offensive miniatures, 28 millimeter UK British paratroopers. There we go. All right. There's a few things I wanted to kind of just touch on or highlight or share with you. Our shipping discount on the store is still active. Will be active all the way through June. May, June, right? Yep, June. So if you see anything on the store and you spend up to, well, $50 or more, you get free shipping. All right. So that's out of the way. Now, I do, I do some business with a guy on eBay that sells 15 millimeter 3D printed vehicles, right? And I picked up these a few months ago, and I figured, why don't I just go ahead and knock them out? Because I noticed all the Shermans that I currently have are the Shermans for the U.S., right? They're painted as U.S., and they are basically set up for the U.S., you know, with the 3-inch turret options and the 75 turret options. So I ordered these back when I was going to do the Canada's Crucible, I had playing Battle Group, and I ordered 5 Sherman Mark Vs. The Sherman Mark V is the British version of the Sherman, and they look beautiful. I don't have any problem with these guys at all. And the turret's kind of got a big hole, so you can't, it'll stay where it belongs, right? I don't have to magnetize these guys. If it was done differently, if it was done like the Flames of War models, I would have magnetized them. But there's absolutely no need to do that with these guys. They're beautiful models, and the only place that you see any kind of evidence that it's a 3D printed model is the bottom. You can see the print lines, or the I don't know what you call that. You can see, it's not a mold, but you can see the layers, right? But you don't see that on the table. And everything else is nicely cleaned. It's perfect. I really like these models. They are, when I ordered these Shermans, I said to myself, once I got them in, I said to myself, damn, those are good looking models. I might have to buy some more from this guy. All right, so now not only did I get these Shermans in, which I'm getting ready to paint a little bit on them. It's kind of like I'm going to be alternating back and forth between the paratroopers and these Shermans. Okay, I'm kind of working the joint because when I spray paint these guys, I primed them. I had the turret up a little bit like that, and then I primed them, and what happened is a little bit of paint got up there, and so it doesn't want to go all the way down unless it will if you push on it. But then the paint kind of, because it's a nice snug fit, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. It moves with no problem. Now that one moves with absolutely no problem. I probably should have ordered a 105, but I already have Fireflies, the 17 pounders. I already have those from Flames of War, and they're all put together and ready to go. Oh, this one wants to grip. So I'm just rubbing one out. Oh, that's so funny. Okay, and those are the Shermans. Now, do I need 5 Shermans? I don't know, but I'm gonna. Those are the 5 that I got. That was with the what do you call it? That was with the expectation that I was going to be playing Battle Group, and I still can. I can still play Battle Group. That's not a problem. Battle Group's an awesome game. It's totally super cool. It just has a different flavor, a different taste when you play Battle Group. I think I actually prefer O Group just for the speed and the basics of it. I like it being a very basic game. I like that. All right. So in that same purchase, I also ordered some M9 high-speed tractors, or HSTs, right? And there's a couple of different, I think there's 4 different choices, but these are the 2 I picked. It's got like open artillery shells that you can see in the back here, and then this one's covered with a tarp. But this one also has a machine gun on the top. But other than that, they're exactly the same. This has got some kind of jack or something there. But there's boxes on it. There's shovels and axes and stuff. They're pretty cool, high-speed tractors. I shopped. I got 3 of them actually. I shopped everywhere. I went to Flames of War, didn't have them. I went to Old Glory, the Command Decision line, didn't have them. I went to Plastic Soldier Company. I went to, I shopped, I don't remember, Quality Casting. I went to Battle Honors. I went to Peter Pig. I don't know. I looked all over the place. Minifigs, I think. I went everywhere looking for high-speed tractors, right? And I couldn't find them anywhere. I mean, the army list, the scenario army list in 1 or 2 of the scenarios in Battle Group have some of the guns being towed by high-speed tractors. So I was planning on using RSOs. I was going to just take an RSO, German RSO, and just paint it up as an American vehicle and call it, proxy it as a high-speed tractor. But then when I saw these for sale by my 3D printer, the guy I was planning on ordering those from, I got super excited, right? And I ordered 3 of them. I think I only need 1 or 2 of them, but I thought it might be good to sell these painted on the website because nobody sells them. And I've even thought about ordering like a dozen more. Just okay, I keep peeking on my microphone. I have a feeling that I have a filter for gain. You know what? I'm just going to delete that. Okay, that should help with the gain. So maybe I don't peak out anymore. But it might keep the volume down a little lower, but that's okay. That's okay. I can always crank the volume up in OBS. It's just that I was noticing it was peaking all the way. Okay, so I'm going to touch these. And well, not finally, but next, I ordered some. What did I order? I think I ordered some Warblewinds. No, some mobile wagons. That's what I ordered. It's a flak gun. It looks a lot like an RSO with a flak gun on the back of it. But either way, I ordered a pack of mobile wagons because I needed them. And what I had received were these M2 early war tanks, right? US M2s. Not even a German tank. And I ordered a German mobile wagon. I got these in. I let Old Glory, because these are Old Glory. These are the pewter tanks. I let Old Glory know that I got the wrong model in. The package said mobile wagon, so I could see where somebody working in the warehouse would have just grabbed that pack and threw it in my shipment. But the miniature inside the pack were these M2s. So I was like, I can't use these M2s. So they sent me the mobile wagons, made the order good and everything resolved. But that left me with these M2s, and I thought I could leave them in the pack and just sell them as M2s out of like Command Decision pack. But I had already opened the pack thinking it was going to be mobile wagons. I'd already opened the pack, and I think I threw away some pieces or whatever. Some the what do you call it? The card on the top and everything. And so I said, you know what? I'm just going to put them together because you got to glue the tracks on the side. I figured I'd just put them together. I'll paint them and I'll sell them as painted on the website. I'm going to sell all 3 of them because I have zero need, less than zero. I have a negative need for these M2s. The M2s, I think, are early war. They might even be pre-war. I don't know. They're like super early war. They might have been good in the Pacific, or they might have been good as like 1942 maybe. They might have been used in Africa. I don't know. I think they were phased out by Africa. By Africa, I think we were using the Sherman and the Grant. So yeah, that's like between the wars kind of tank. And I was like, I don't need that. They might have been used in the Pacific, and they also might have been used in Africa. I don't know. But either way, I don't need them. So I'm going to paint those up as well. They're probably supposed to be brown and not olive drab. I might do a little research on that before we get going, just so I can get them ready. And then these guys are all my offensive miniatures, British paratrooper, and accessory sets. Because I've got some machine gun. I picked up some a Bren gun pack, and that's going to be intermixed in there. And I'm going to be able to put together, I think, 5 or 6 squads. And then I think a 7th squad will be a mix of submachine guns and rifles, because I think I only have 6 Bren guns. But I do have a 2-inch mortar. I've got the 2 sniper teams. And these sniper teams, if you watched on, I think it was Monday, I did my last live stream, and we talked about these. On Monday, I was thinking about putting these 2 models on 2 separate pill bases, like these guys, right? But with their terrain piece split down the middle, and the way the 2 bases fit together with like the way they were cut, I decided to go ahead and attach them as a single base. This is a 2-man sniper team, and I have 2 of them somehow. Got our machine gun, we got our mortar, and like a Piat gunner, 2-inch mortar. You'll notice that the 2-inch mortar and these 2 snipers are not on the 60 millimeter base, right? They're on 50 millimeters. So these are 2-inch bases. This is a 60 millimeter base, but then again, it has a crew of 3, where these guys have a crew of 2. So, same thing with a mortar. He's on a 60. I did a test run the other night to see if, because see, I primed these with the Vallejo uh, British uniform. It's a spray. And I primed them with the British uniform to get everything started. And brown, just in general, is the perfect primer color for all things World War II. You can prime your Americans, you can prime your Hungarians, you can prime your winter troops, you can prime whatever in any brown, and it'll work perfect. So I decided to prime these with British uniform, which works great. Now, I thought I need to paint their pants British uniform. Uh, I could leave it the way it is, but I don't know. It's not, the primer is just not um, brown enough, if that makes sense. It's too subdued. I'm not sure exactly what the word I'm looking for is. It's just not the English uniform. So I grabbed English uniform from AK, right? And I painted these two guys' pants as a test to see if there was enough of a variation. There is. It did darken it down quite a bit. To the color, it looks almost like field drab. I know there's some YouTubers out there that use field drab instead of any kind of English uniform or something like that. And that does look like field drab. It really does. I'm sure there's a little bit of a difference, but I'm not too concerned with it. There's also a color called, and this is from MIG, it's called British Brown. And so I've considered, I'm going to, here in just a minute, paint a couple of these guys with British Brown pants and see if out of the three, out of the primer and the painted British uniform from AK and the British Brown from MIG, I don't know. I don't think I have a Vallejo. Oh, I do. Okay. I have the model color English uniform from Vallejo. That looks extremely dark. But also it's probably super old, so. See, that looks like crazy dark. That's the Vallejo. MIG, Vallejo, AK. Now, this should dry exactly that color. I don't know if it will. So let's go ahead and test it out. Let's stop yabbering, jibber jabbering, and let's get to working on these bad boys. Okay. And in between tests and trial runs and everything else, I'll be touching up the vehicles as we go. I'm not going to like concentrate on the vehicles, but I will do a little bit on the vehicles. Okay, so we already got the uniform base on these two guys. Let's do something called British Brown. Make sure it's shook up thoroughly. Same thing with the Vallejo. All right, now some of this painting might be off camera, but deal with it. I also have to check. There's like a little gator or a the bottom of the pants, or is it the top of the boot? Okay, so I'm gonna go in and do a little research on my computer here. I'm painting it this. I'm over painting it right now because that's not going to hurt anything. But if it's supposed to be the boot, when I go to paint the boots, I want to make sure I touch that gator looking thing. You know how motorcycle boots, you know, they go up past your ankle and they have buckles on them? That's kind of what these boots look like. Or these shin straps. But it might be the bottom of their pants. Or it might be a gator. You know, that maybe I got to paint it separately as a gator. And if that's the case, we'll do it. Okay. So that's 2. You know what? I'm going to paint 3 because I've got enough paint in the palette. Don't want anything to go to waste. And if I get it on the smock, it's no big deal because I'm going to be painting the smock here in just a minute. Now, I always thought that the base coat of the Denison smock was kind of a greenish khaki looking color, kind of like a, I don't know how to explain it. Basically, kind of like a little light green color. But my AK British paint set comes with a color called Denison Tan Base. And I think that's the base of the Denison Tan. Now, MIG has a different color. It uses a mixture of yellow green and khaki green, right? So we got this yellow green, which is kind of the color I thought it was. And then a khaki green, which is kind of a brown, right? So if I was to mix these two, would it come to that? No. Both these colors are lighter than that. And I thought it was just this and not a mixture of these. I'm not going to mix them. Let me tell you right now, I ain't doing it. I think we're going to start it off with this yellow green. And it's just an undercoat anyway. It's the base coat. Okay. Okay, and finally, we're going to use the Vallejo English uniform to see what kind of shenanigans I can get into. Okay. And we'll put those over here. Let's do this Piat gunner. Use spread eagle out here on the... Okay, it looks all a little bit like that color. It's way thicker too. It doesn't look like that. It looks more like that, so... But it might dry and look like that. I'm now noticing I don't have my gloves on. That's okay. All right, so actually I probably got enough to do. Another one. And I don't think it matters which one I use of these three colors, because of fading, time on the battlefield, time running around in the dirt. I think you could have all three colors in the same unit and it would still be okay. But I just want to test them out and see which ones turn up actually the best. All right, so let me switch my glasses. I have to look online while that dries. I gotta look something up. British Airborne Uniform. All right. Okay, this picture, it's not letting me zoom in. Looks like a gator. It's a slightly different color gator. The infantry have gators, as we already know. Okay, this is okay. Hold on, there's a button. Can I zoom in? Come on. It's not letting me zoom. Yeah, the undercoat does look kind of brown. Okay. That's just one source. Let me keep looking. I went to a site called History in the Making. Yep, it's a gator. But the tan still looks light, so I think I'm going to use the yellow green. Okay, just looking at other images. Plus, remember when you paint a model, even if you're using the right colors, sometimes they look weird because it's on a small miniature. Okay, that's actually a good picture. Yeah, he's got gaiters on. It's not part of the boot. And then there's a Denizen blouse on sale from eBay. It looks like a reproduction. It's a, yeah, it says replica. Yep, I think that yellow green's going to be my first color. There should be like the AK website. Paint set. I think this is the picture from the AK website. No. Well, if it is, it doesn't say it is. Okay, but that solved my question anyway. My question was, are they wearing gaiters or did the boots actually go up? And it looks like it's gaiters. And they, even in the same picture, like Operation Market Garden, it shows some of them wearing brown boots and some of them wearing black boots. I think it's going in my imagination, it's going to be like a black brown or a super dark brown. All right. That's what we're going to do. Okay, so these guys are still drying. They're probably already, well, no, he's definitely not dry and he's definitely not dry. So I'm going to give them a couple of minutes to decide how they want to go. But I wanted to continue with my 15 millimeter expose. As you know, I've had Plastic Soldier Company. Got something in my hand here you can't really see. But I had some Plastic Soldier Company CWT 15s, which is the Canadian CWT. Canadian, maybe it's CMT, Canadian Military CMP, Papa. I think it's Canadian Military Platform Program. I don't know, but I think it's CMP. But either way, CMP 15s are Canadian light trucks, and I wanted some more of them, so I ordered some from the 3D printer guy. Take a look at that. Take a look at that model. Look at that. Is that not awesome? I lost the focus. It was there for a second. And this is untouched. I didn't take an X-Acto knife to this or anything. And you can see the tire down inside there. You can see the ripples on the canvas. But check this out. Boom. Okay, you can see the lines from the 3D printing. But you got gears and stuff like that. You won't see it on the table. And a lot of people will put their models on bases. I tend not to do that with a model that can sit on its own on the table. But yeah, I got a few of those. And the radio truck that I got, that I already have, is the wrong radio truck. I've got a radio truck from the desert. I think Rommel captured one and used it. The Dorchester, I think is what it's called. And it's not the correct one for the European theater. So I went ahead and got one. It's a beautiful looking model. These just came in last night. I also ordered for my US Army, and I'm thinking maybe for the British Army as well, some M5A1s. Okay, my focus is coming and going. It looks like there's a shovel on the door. There we go, under the door. Jerry can, winch in the front. This one's got the cupola. So if I wanted to put a standing guy in there, maybe with binoculars or something, I could do that. But basically, I'm getting ready to. Well, I think I'm going to do my. I think I might do some Fallschirmjägers next. Not sure, but I am planning on doing some Americans, mainly so that I can use them as glider troops if I need to. But I do want to equip some of them with half tracks. Now in O group, a half track, well, two half tracks will carry a platoon, right? Two half tracks will carry an infantry platoon in O group, because this represents 2 to 3 half tracks. So think of this like 5 half tracks. 5 half tracks could carry 5 squads, which could be your easily could be your platoons. Basically, there's supposed to be like 2 stands per half track or something like that. So like if you had an attachment or something, it could go in there as well. But I got 6 of them because it would carry a company, 3 platoons. And then I ordered what I thought I was ordering was the French 304, the French half track that the 21st Panzer Division uses in Normandy. This guy right here, right? It's a French half track. It's a very odd looking little machine. But what I had received was the 304 with, I think this is a 20 millimeter, with the 20 millimeter flak. Got a steering wheel and everything. This is, pivots. It's got a pretty sizable hole, just like the Shermans, that I just showed you. So this is a 3, and I got 6 of these where I guess if I just pull the flak gun out, I could just use that as a transport, right? And that'll just be a half track troop transport. And then if I need to, I can just drop the flak gun in there and use it as a flak gun. Or I'm thinking I'm going to order some more 304s just because I don't want to use a transport with that big hole in the middle. But yeah, I just ordered those. Yeah. Those came in fast, actually. I'm actually kind of surprised. Okay, where's my rubber? Here it is. Rubber tires. We're going to do that on these 2 guys right there. But now I'm remembering to put my gloves on. So, if you guys are interested in O Group, you're considering it, but you're not sure if that's the game for you, I am doing a boot camp where I go over every chapter meticulously. And I say that because I'm almost reading it word for word. Almost. 90% word for word. And then between sentences or between little paragraphs, I will throw in an anecdote of what that means or how that relates to a gamer or whatever. So it's kind of learning the rules, but also learning how these fingers don't want to expand. Let's see if I can do this. Blow it up like a balloon. Yep, looks good. Now I should be able to get my fingers in the holes. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, let's switch to my painting glasses. And even then, they're not really my painting glasses. These are my mid glasses. I think I need slightly stronger mid glasses because my painting glasses, I think, are too strong. They're like this thick, And so when I So when I put those glasses on, I got to pull the miniature this close to get it to be in focus. Where with these glasses, focus is right around there, which is a foot away. I was hoping for something a little bit closer, but not that close. Okay, so the anti-tank gun and the pack howitzer both have rubber tires. Now, none of these guys are carrying a flamethrower. If they were, I would paint the hose rubber as well. And I like the MIG rubber because it's more gray. AK rubber is more black. Now I had been using this Model Air Tire Black. It's good too. It's like a black, but it has a gray rubber look to it. So I used it many times and I like it quite a bit. So just depending on the look of your rubber tires, you can choose AK, MIG, or Vallejo. But I like the MIG one best, to be honest. And I've always thought the Vallejo one was a little too thin. Um, but then again, it is Model Air. It's made for an airbrush. Oh, got to get some light in there. Simple enough. There's only two things. There's only those tires and these tires. Now on this anti-tank gun, these tires have some really deep treads. I mean, these are cross-country tires. I'm not sure why a towed vehicle, I'm sorry, a towed gun would need deep treads because it's not trying to get traction. There's probably some reason why they gave them deep treads. Or it's just a standard tire that they use on all the vehicles. Okay, I'm ran out. One thing I do like about the MIG paint bottles, they all come with an agitator. You don't have to buy it separately. It's just an added bonus. If you're wondering why I'm leaning over here, and it's mainly because I want to get some light on the subject. So if you're watching and listening and you have the capability to get to the chat, some of you don't because you're at work or you're doing something away from the computer and you're just listening. But if you have a way to get to the chat, let me know what's on your workbench right now. Like, what are you painting? Are you building a model? Are you working on, 100 Years War Knights? Are you working on Napoleonic Polish Lancers? Are you working on Warhammer 40K Space Marines? Like, what are you currently working on? I'm curious. I want to know what my community is doing in the paint realm. Okay, so we got the tires done. That means I can put this rubber away because those were the only two things that I was going to paint rubber. Now, the reason why I brought up the O Group boot camp was because I'm thinking that when we break and then I go eat lunch, after lunch, I might film another episode uh, of the boot camp. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, these guys are all pretty much dry. Okay, this British brown dried almost exactly the color of the primer. Almost exactly. So I'm putting that away. Not using it. So we'll just take these guys and slide them out of the way. I mean, it is different, but it's not different enough to make a reason to use it. This is a dark brown, almost not a black brown, but like a dark brown. We're not going to use that. It doesn't match the spray. All right, so this English or British uniform base is a happy medium. It's darker than those, but lighter than those, and it will make a good base color. Okay. So we're going to paint all these Brits, every one of them, with those pants. Not these. I'm going to leave them with the color I painted them, and they'll be just slightly different than everybody else. But that's okay. Now, there's an American in here somewhere. Um, he's not going to get painted with this English uniform pants. He's going to get a herringbone. Whenever I find him. I'm not going to, like dig for him right now. But when I come across him, I'll just set him aside. So if you've been looking at my Fallschirmjägers, or if you've been looking at my American paratroopers, you might want to go in and check them out. I actually put the Americans back on auction, and I considerably dropped their price. It's a starting price, but I also took my 28 millimeter armored vehicles and put them on there at a considerable drop of prices. And I've already got some bids, initial bids, on some vehicles. But if you want some American or German paratroopers, I recommend picking them up because, first of all, I think I did a really good job on them. Of course, I say that, but I believe it. And the price is less than cost. It's basically just so that start the interest in the bidding war and get people to jump on it. Okay. Sorry if this light gets in your way, but I want to see what I'm doing. And I'm just slapping paint on, not concerning myself with going over the lines. But now I know I'm going to be painting gators. So if I get some of this paint on the smock, or the gators, or the boots, or anything, it'll be okay. Because I'm going to paint over all that with other colors. Now, some of these guys have berets, and some of them have helmets, and I don't think I pulled any red out. Okay. I don't think I need to. Oh, I do need to, but not right now, obviously. Now, you might say, Derek, why are you priming with British uniform and then going in and painting British uniform? Two reasons. Because the primer is too light. It's too, well, first of all, it's a really good primer. Sticks to the metal, gives the figure a great base. I'm about to say the Avalon Hill. The Vallejo primers are some of the best primers that I've ran with. But, like on this guy's smock, spray primers don't always get into all the cracks, right? Sometimes there's a little metal showing or whatever. And so by going over it with a brush, I'm filling in any spots that the spray primer might not have hit, like between the folds or the gear or whatever. That's the main reason why. But the secondary is I really wanted the color to be the color I wanted and not the primer color. Got to get it up in the crack of his crotch and his butt cheeks, because that's usually where the primer doesn't adhere to. Mainly because of the way I prime. I set all these out on a palette and then I spray them from the side and slightly above. And I do 2 light coats. So I'll mist them with the first coat and then I'll finish it up with the second coat. And that usually resolves all the issues. But there's always that outlier. That guy that just didn't want to get his balls primed. So I'll tickle him with a brush. Now, even though these guys are camouflaged, I think they'll actually get painted pretty rapidly. I think. Now, this might be the last set of figures that I paint for the store for a short while, because I have a guy commissioning me to paint some 15mm NASA. He bought some NASA Old Glory from me, but then messaged me and said, "Hey, could you paint those?" And I was like, "Sure thing, here's my rates." And he said, "Okay, that works out. Let's do it." And but now my question, I dropped him a question, so I'm waiting for a response. But for those of you that maybe don't know, NASA actually had different uniforms depending on their regiment or their province that they came from. And mainly it's 2 uniforms. You got the blue uniform and you have the green uniform. And I think it was the 28th Regiment. I think it was the 28th Regiment, which is the blue uniform. And then, which is the orange, what do they call them? NASA orange. And then there's the NASA Oozagans, which are green. And I think that's the 1st and 2nd Regiment. I think, I don't remember. But I sent him some pictures and I asked him, which ones do you want? I could do one of each because he wants 2 battalions painted. I can do whatever he wants. And he wants them mounted on Napoleon's battles bases. He didn't say that, but he gave me the dimension of the base, 20 by 25. Set up as 4 figures. And that's exactly Napoleon's battles. Actually, I think Napoleon's battles, because it was an American game, I think they said 3/4 of an inch by an inch, which is basically 20 by 25. And that won't be a problem at all either. I'll just have to check my base availability, see if I have that size. He said 25 by 25 would be fine, you know, if it was tight on the base or whatever. And I know I have 20 by or 25 by 25, basically 1-inch squares. I know I have those. But I think I might have some 20 by 25s. Some old Napoleon's battles bases. And if I do, that's the ones I'll use. And I hope I have some NASA flags, because he said he wanted them flagged. And I think I might have some NASA flags. If not, I'll just do a real quick order. So yeah, I'll need to check my flag inventory and my base inventory and wait for a response from his email, which I don't think there's a problem. But basically, I don't know his email. He gave me, well, let me rephrase that. I don't know if I have the right email. So I sent him, and when I sent him an email, I said, is this you? You know, is this my Nassau commission? Just to find out if I have the right email address. Now, because he bought the figures on eBay and he paid for shipping on eBay, I'm going to deduct what he's already paid for shipping from my normal $15 per commission shipping charge. I think he paid like 6 and change. So that'll come off of the 15 for shipping. See how fast these pants are going? They're going pretty quick. But the problem is, I have 100 of these. Actually, I don't know how many I have. Maybe I could count them. This might be Commander Frost. He has a radio. He doesn't have a radio. He's got a headset like he's listening to a radio. But I don't see him carrying a radio. He's got a pistol in one hand, a map or document or something in his left hand. But mainly, he's got this. I don't know if that's a horn, which I think it is, because Frost had a horn, where he could yell orders out and people could hear him. Now this guy here carrying a Sten gun. Yeah, it's not a Thompson. Yeah, it's a Sten gun. But the tip broke off. But I'm still gonna paint him up, you know. And when I do wind up listing him for sale, I'll have to mark him down a little bit. Maybe take $1 off or something. I mean, you would never know unless you like really looked at the model. Yeah, I think I'm running out of paint. Gonna have to add some more. Go ahead and do that. All right, so nobody's working on anything or nobody's available at chat. That's perfectly fine. If you're like away from the chat or you currently don't have any projects working, that's okay. If you don't have any projects, go ahead and put that in there. Say, I'm not working on anything. Or if you can't because you're away from the computer and you're just listening through a wireless headset, or you're at work and you can't just switch over to the chat, don't worry about it. Don't risk your job. me knowing what you're working on is not life or death. I'm just curious. Inquiring minds want to know. Now, I thought about pulling out all my Flames of War British paratroopers that I need to paint and including them and painting them alongside these guys. But then I came to my senses and I told myself, don't overdo it. I'm kind of a little upset that I pulled those tanks out. Because if I have too much on my workbench, I have a tendency to get lazy and not paint. But if I only have a handful, excuse me, I got hiccups, a handful of models, I get excited about finishing them and I jump on them and I knock them out. It's kind of like my Napoleonics. If I've got more than maybe 4 battalions on the table, it slows me down. Like, I could honestly paint 4 battalions in probably 1 week from start to finish, depending on the nationality, but I'm thinking French, Waterloo. I could probably paint 4 battalions in 7 days from start to finish, base, blocking, everything. But if I add a 5th battalion, it's like my breaking point. And then it takes me like 2 weeks to do all 5 battalions. And that doesn't math, right? Because if I just did 4, and then when I finished them, added 4 more, I would have had 8 in 2 weeks. So I learned a long time ago, only do what you can do. There's a book that came with first edition Napoleon's Battles. It was a separate book entirely, and it had a chapter in there that talked about the hobby, not the game, not, no rules, no scenarios, nothing like that. It just talked about the hobby and tips and tricks on how to improve your gaming experience and, like putting charts in a sheet protector and then taping it to the side of the table. And then all you got to do is flip the chart up in that sheet protector and it's not on the table getting in the way of the figures or making the table look cluttered or anything. And the templates that you use, like in that game, you use like a wheel template, an artillery firing template. They say take those templates, put them in an open envelope, and then just tape the lid of the envelope against the table. So all you got to do is just reach into the envelope and grab the proper template. And he said put those on all four sides of the table so that all the players can access them and look at the charts and get the templates. I thought that was a really cool idea, but it's not really necessary. You can lay the template on the table. It's not going to hurt anything. Because you wind up doing it anyway, and then after 2 or 3 times digging into the envelope tears, or you don't put the templates back in the envelope. Okay, so that's not the point. But there's a whole book just on like tips and tricks and hobby ideas. And remember, like, Napoleon's battles was really my first foray into painting hundreds of models. Because I had played some World War II games, tank charts, Angriff, you know, things like that back in the heyday. And I'm only painting like a dozen tanks or whatever. It wasn't like Napoleon's battles where I needed to paint hundreds of miniatures. Well, in that book, it says take one unit of 24 figures and paint it from start to finish. And they say you should be able to finish that in 1 or 2 days. Which is true. And then once you get like competent or fast, if you feel like you're able to paint more than one unit at a time, go ahead and do 2 units. But no more than that. And if you can't finish them in 2 days, don't do 2 units. Just do 1. And the reason is, if you do 1 unit a day or 1 unit every other day, you'll have something like 150 units done in 1 year. And painting, this does a couple of things. It keeps you motivated. That's the main reason. That's the number one reason. It keeps you motivated because every couple of days you're getting another unit finished. It's going to look good. You can add it to your collection. And then you're starting a whole new unit, which is also kind of exciting. So you are staying motivated the whole time And just every couple of days, a unit just gets cranked out, churned, right? And the other thing they were saying, which I highly, 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 I can't say this highly enough. I really embrace this mentality that this author, I think it was Frank Chadwick actually, no, it might not have been Chadwick. Oh my gosh. Because it was Avalon Hill, not GDW. Was it GDW? Oh shit, I'm losing my lore. But either way, the guy that wrote this article, I strongly, highly can't say how much I embrace this second philosophy. Why you paint one unit at a time, or two if you're really good. Who are you trying to impress? When you're painting a miniature, you got to answer a question. Who are you trying to impress? Your opponent? I'm sure there's a little bit of that in there. But it should be, the answer should be yourself. And I've wanted to do a video about this topic for a long time, but I've never really. Oh, there's a lot of metal on this guy. I've never really put together exactly how I wanted to word it. I mean, I could pull the book out and read it word for word, but I don't want to do that. I want to put it into a more of a modern philosophy, but I also want to address and shame all these YouTubers out there, and there are a lot of them that do just the opposite. These YouTubers, and every time I see one of their videos, I slap. Oh, wait. This guy's the American. Yep, okay, that's the American. There is a tendency out there to speed paint. How fast can you get an entire army on the table using the least amount of paint or the least amount of time and effort to get these figures on the table? Saying things like, I work a 9 to 5 job. I don't have time to paint. Or I started this new game with my buddies and I want to play with them. So I need to paint an entire army by this weekend so that I can get out there and play. And then I just slap my head. Hey, if you guys Zenithal Prime, paint it black and then give it a white dusting from above, you can avoid the whole highlighting step because it'll be naturally highlighted with the shadowing and stuff. So all of these YouTubers that say, I can paint an army in 24 hours, or I can show you how to assemble this model using only one drop of glue, or whatever. I'm exaggerating now. That is exactly the opposite of my philosophy. Also, this Napoleon's Battles Tips and Tricks book, the guy said, and I might not be getting the exact words correctly, so don't hold me to the fire, but he said, take your time, paint your model to the best of your ability. Over time, you'll get better, so don't worry about that, which I will attest is true. I don't think that I really understood highlighting and shading and blending and color palettes and color combinations and diffusion of color based on scale, and I don't think I understood all that until about maybe 5 years ago. And I've been doing this a long time. A long time. I've been painting figures since the 70s. Well, is that really true? Late 70s, like 78, 79. And ever since then, I've been painting D&D models, Battletech, World War II. And then I got into Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer 40K. Yeah, so I've been painting a long time. And I don't think it all really clicked until about 5 years ago. When I really put my mind to painting and learning. Because before that, I would paint and just like flat paint on a model. And I'd paint my Napoleonics and I'd paint the right colors, but I wouldn't say they were painted very well. They were painted, but not great. If I did all that today, well, I already know because I've got Napoleonics painted, and they look 100 times better than I did 10 years ago. And I read that book, by the way, probably in the mid 90s. That's when I started, well, yeah, mid 90s is really when I started my big Napoleon's Battles foray. But yeah, the idea is don't paint your models for your opponent. Paint them for yourself. And if you're painting them for yourself, paint them to the best possible quality that you know how to do. Don't cut corners. Don't skimp. Don't rush. Take your time. Do it right. And if you only do 1 or 2 units a day or every couple of days, 1 unit in 2 days, you will be happier. You will be proud. You'll be more proud. More, you'll look at your models and say, damn, look what I did. But if you rush and you try to get that Tyranid army out in 1 week and you're just trying to get them on the table, you probably can. You can get them painted to a certain level of competence. And if you use contrast paints or speed paints, you can really knock out a bunch of colors in a week, but they're not going to look right. I've watched a bunch of guys like paint Napoleonic figures using speed paints or contrast paints. These contrast paints aren't, well, first of all, they're not made for historical models. They're made for fantasy models. And mainly because none of the colors are right. They're under, what's the word? Under pigmented, overbound. So when you go to paint with them, you have to paint on top of white so that the white can kind of shine through as a highlight. But that only works if the paint allows it to shine through. So that immediately tells me that those paints aren't any good. They have no pigment. And I've seen a bunch of guys say, well, I'll just use this color for the blue, or I'll just use this color for the hunter green. It's not exactly correct, but it looks pretty good on the table. No, don't do that. You're shooting yourself in the foot. Do it right. Take your time. If it takes me 2 weeks to paint these, then it takes me 2 weeks to paint them. I don't anticipate it taking me 2 weeks. But if it does, that's okay because I'm not cutting corners. Sometimes I'll stop and I'll test the colors to make sure I'm using the right ones. You already saw that in the first few minutes of this video. Specifically this English uniform color. I went through 3 manufacturers to find out which one I actually liked best. If I didn't care, I would have just used the first one, which I am actually using the first one. But you get the idea. I might have just primed it English uniform, which I did, and just leave it at that. And just say the primer is good enough. But no, I have to do a good job. And if you're painting your own figures for your own collection, take your time. Do it right. Don't use contrast paints. Don't use speed paints. That is for the lazy. That is for the, what do you call them? Millennials or Gen V. No. The babies out there. Now, I understand that not everybody knows how to paint. Hell, I didn't the first 30 years, 20 years. But don't just immediately jump at the easy. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox. My final words before I do is paint well. Paint slow. Take your time. You're not I'll also add this one more thing, which kind of goes into this before I get off my soapbox. If you're painting an army that you're going to own for more than 5 days, if you're going to keep that army, let's say a Warhammer army, right? And you paint some wood elves. After a year or two, are you going to get rid of those elves? Or are you just going to unload them? Some people do. But if you don't, if you plan to keep them and keep using them and using them, do a good job on them in the beginning. And then you'll have this wood elf army painted immaculately, golden demon quality, and you'll have them for as long as you want. And you can always go in and touch them up or fix them or add some decals to them or improve on them. But that way you'll have an army to be proud of for as long as you own them. If you speed paint them just to get them on the table, they will always look like you just speed painted them. Even 10 years down the road, it'll look like you rushed and you had no desire to do a good job. So stop, take a breath, take your time. Okay, now I'm off my high horse. Sorry, I got started on that and it just snowballed. Maybe I can get Chat GPT to write me a script. That's funny. All right, so that's the English uniform. Pants. And it's almost 11 o'clock already. Dang. And that was just the pants. Jeez. Or she's Louise, as they say. Okay. I want an American twill, and it might be that uniform green. I'm thinking it is. I should have something called American uniform, or here it is, USA uniform. There it is. Found it. No, wait, hold on. Back up. This guy is not a leg. He's actually a paratrooper. Yeah, it looks like a U.S. paratrooper. He's got the 101st patch on his shoulder. Okay. That changes things. Green ochre? Nope. Khaki? Nope. Should be AK. Green brown. That's actually a really good color, but that's not what I'm looking for. That's light. Oh no. Oh, there it is. Decomposed flesh. I shouldn't need a whole lot of this because it's only one figure. Now, he might have been a late war paratrooper. I didn't even think of that. Oh no, this guy could have been a late war paratrooper. I could have painted him khaki green. Oh well, he's going to be D-Day. He's part of the Jedburgh team, which is kind of like a like a decoding team. Okay. He stands out quite a bit. Okay, I'm going to take this track primer. We're going to paint these tanks' tracks. Pop these turrets off. That way I can set the tanks down upside down so when I paint their tracks, it won't get all over my cutting mat. Now I'm not sure what the next chapter is in the boot camp. I don't know how long it will take me to film it or record it. Like this last one I did, took me 2 hours to record it, but after all the editing, I got it down just under an hour, I think. Maybe I didn't shake this up enough. Yeah, I think that's better. It's a waterborne polymer surface primer. Okay. Okay, that didn't really change anything, so I must have shook it up enough. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm thinking. I'm painting with my virtual tongue sticking out. And that's another thing. I only like to paint for a couple hours at a sitting. Even though I paint all day, like after lunch, I would normally come back and paint more. But I have to stop and take a break, mainly to give my eyes a chance to rest. Because even right now, I can start to feel my eyes starting to blur up a little bit. Going back, because I think forgot, I know I forgot to do the underside of the top track. You won't see it if it's sitting on the table. But remember, I'm not painting for someone else. I'm painting for myself. I want to make sure it's done right. And also, if I don't need 5 of these, if I only need 4, then I'm going to sell one. And I don't like selling something that's not up to a certain level of, up to a certain standard. That makes sense. I have a little pride in my work. Basically, to be honest, I don't sell anything painted unless it's painted to a level where I would be happy putting that on the table. not always perfect. It's not always, you know, museum quality. But I have to be happy with it before I allow it to, to ship. Now I sprayed these originally with the AK olive drab spray primer. The AK olive drab primer comes out a little yellow. Um, it's not a bad color. It's just not the color I wanted. So I reprimed them with Testors. The Testors olive drab is perfect. And if you remember, about a year ago, I did do an olive drab spray comparison on like 10 different spray paints. And I do think that Testors came out number one. Okay. Yeah, this track color is getting thin. Probably should add a few more drops. Ever since I discovered this AK track primer, I I use it every time because it's like the perfect color for tracks. AK did a good job making this color. It looks a little rusty, but not. Looks a little rubbery, but not. And it is only the primer, so you can leave it like that, or you can go over certain parts of your track with whatever color you want. But as the base color, it's awesome. It's the best. Wish I discovered it years ago. Wait, what? Oh, yeah, the bottom. Okay, well, I can see that nobody has replied to my inquiry. That's okay, no problem. I did put another order in at War Bases. Um, I ordered some pill-shaped bases, and I looked at my email from War Bases, and it says pill-shaped base, 20 millimeter by 90 millimeter. I know I ordered some 90 millimeter pills, but I don't remember a 20 millimeter wide. To me, that's not a oval. That's like a very long, weird shaped base. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to use those. What I was trying to do was order a base that could be used for anti-tank guns and artillery. You know, instead of round, I could have went with something oval. That's why I went with like 90 millimeter, because it's almost 4 inches, but not. I must not have looked, or I must have clicked on the wrong width. 20 millimeter, come on now. I'll never use that. Whoops, wait, what? Wait, what? Okay, well, that's okay. It's a little stain. A little rust stain on the side of the tank. It must have got on my glove and then I touched the side. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, my eyes are starting to get really bad. I think we'll finish these few tracks and then call it for the day. Well, I'm going to eat and I'm going to review my O group rules and see if I can take some time and film a episode 2 of the boot camp. So I wonder if Too Fat Lardies sells to retailers like myself for resale. And if they do, I'd like to get the O group rules and put them on my store because I'm a big fan of the rules. If you haven't already figured out. Yeah, I still have to paint the rubber on the bogey wheels here. So if I get a little of this crack on the bogey wheel, it's not that big of a deal. Because I still have to go in and paint those. I'm just trying to avoid the hole. So I've been thinking about ordering some more 28 millimeter vehicles. Maybe 3D printed. Maybe from West Wind. probably some 3D printed ones because they've got a large variety. And I can get some specialty vehicles, like ambulances or desert jeeps, like SAS, Rat Patrol. Who remembers that show? Um, about a year ago, I was binge watching Combat. Because I never really watched it when it, earlier in my career of wargaming, of military, you know, TV series or movies. And so I was binge watching it for the first time. Vic Morrow and all that. It was really good. But I still hadn't finished it. And I don't remember where I left off. And then I started watching the Rat Patrol, which was more of a modernized version in the desert, but it just didn't have the same. It just wasn't the same. So I think I'm going to go to Combat again. And if I've already seen that episode, just skip to the next episode until I can figure out where I left off. I think I was somewhere in like season 2 or 3. I can't remember. Can't wait till November. We can get rid of this idiot. Right, now I was going to paint their tracks. So what I'll do is I'll keep painting until I run out of paint in my palette. Like if there's not enough of this track primer to do all those, then that's where we'll stop. And I won't mix anymore. Might not even. Okay, this is the last tractor. Okay. I was afraid I wasn't going to be able to hit all the tractor. Because we're getting close to the end of this paint. Might not get to the M2s. Okay, that's it. All right, guys. Thanks for coming out and hanging out with me this morning. Hopefully, I'll get one or two more O Group boot camp videos done this weekend. And maybe I'll go live again Monday. So, everybody take care. And I'll catch you in the next one.